Okay, let's take a look and see what Teresa's talking about here.
Yeah, and I click on Bnug meeting calendar and it just cycles meetings plus.
So I'm going, can you all see? Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the main page. It does announce the meeting. And I've used the link a number of times, so the link is working. Where are you going, Charisse?
I'm at, let's see, hold on.
And Adam, I did
It's
it. back-
bnug.org.
So are you seeing what hold on, I want to hear what you have to say, Tom, but yeah, Charisse, are you seeing what I'm seeing right now at bnug.org?
Nope.
What are you seeing?
Well, I'll share my screen and I'll show you.
Just tell me.
It's Boston Network Users Group, established 1986, in a black banner. Underneath that is home, contact us, new Bnug meeting calendar.
Yeah, now scroll down a ways. Do you see a big blue banner saying our next meeting?
Okay,
Do you see all this?
yeah, and that's the last posted board meeting, last August.
No, are you seeing Tuesday, February 7th in blue like I am?
Nope.
Try refreshing, clearing your cache and trying again. I think there's something wrong with your loading of the site.
And page updated on 6/16/2022.
Yeah, there's something wrong. Could you go to a private window and try it again and see if trying it without cookies might help you. Somehow your version of this website is out of date and isn't getting updated correctly. But I think the site is working because I'm on it and it's doing this fine. Why don't you try that out and let us know. Oh, no, who's doing live streaming? Steve?
Yeah, it's going to
No
my
live
private.
streaming, no.
It's going to my
No,
YouTube.
no, you should be recording. You're live streaming. Turn it off, please.
Okay, a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't live stream meetings because sometimes we need to edit them before they go public.
Yeah. Okay, I fixed it.
Okay.
I did see one thing on there that may need to be looked at. Oh, I think we lost Adam.
I guess he's playing with his Verizon modem again.
Hello, Martin. Hello, everybody.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Chris. I mean, Martin. Hello, Drew.
Your screen
Welcome.
is reflecting in your glasses again.
Yes, there's nothing I can do. I can't do anything about it. The glasses have a computer blue light filter on them. However, I don't think they have an anti-reflective coating on them. And you're not the first person to say that they. I'm not going out and buying a new pair of glasses.
Can you get them coated?
These are glasses that I bought off the internet. I'm not going to try and put another coating on them just to get the glare out. If I buy another pair of glasses, I'll get them with both blue light filter and anti-glare, but the company that I bought them from doesn't offer them that way.
Well, it gives you a certain air of mystery, and also your lips are blue.
Excuse me, Charisse.
Yeah,
That's because it's so cold here.
Excuse me, Charisse.
yep.
When I load the Bnug webpage, it's on the bottom, it says updated on 12/20. So I think you are looking at it.
Yeah, she's definitely got an old version. Steve,
Yeah.
could you not share your screen, please? And could
Okay, November. Okay, I see something
yeah,
else.
could you make me host again?
figure out something I just noticed on the website myself.
Yeah, we'll deal with it. Okay.
All right,
Thank
it
thank you,
refreshed.
Therese. Yeah, let us know how that goes. Tom,
It
do you
refreshed.
have another comment?
No,
Yeah.
I was just commenting that I went to the website and did not have any issues getting to.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
this is,
but- Yeah, it's a
common-
refresh, something, I think many months ago, I dealt with the same issue, but
I have also.
it's been cleared up, yeah.
Yeah, I've also, Drew, I want to apologize on behalf of Bnug for inviting you to such a cold space for a meeting. I know that it's difficult for people from Florida to be here in Boston, but we appreciate your hardiness and effort.
I guess, Drew, Adam is just giving you a frost warning.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started, folks. I want to welcome people who haven't been here before. Chaz Luca, are you new to us?
I am new as of recently, but no, I've been a member for a long time.
Great to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no worries.
So let me introduce this meeting a little bit because it does require some explanation. Steve, could you make me co-host again, please?
You also have Debbie Clark on the call too.
Thanks. And change your name to your name, please. Thank you. And thanks for welcoming Debbie from Solutions at Work. I want to explain why we're doing this meeting. Because we've talked about KeePass at Bnug. We've had several meetings devoted to it. And it's the reason why I feel really strongly that we should spend more time on it are two reasons. One is, I think this is one of the most important issues in computing today. The question of password management and keeping data safe, I think, is one of the most critical issues. And the reason why, someone asked me the other day, what antivirus program do I recommend for machines? And I said none. And I was joking a little bit, but it's basically true. The virus threat that we faced 15 years ago is very, very different than the security threats we face today. It's very rare to have your computer taken over by an evil virus, but it's very common to be attacked in a variety of ways of people trying to get access to your passwords, trying to get access to your identity, trying to get access to your accounts. Good password management is one of the best remedies against this. But I also want to point out a second issue that I've raised here before, but I just want to underline it because of our role as computer helpers. Many of the people who come to this group are people who help people with their computers. And I want to point out that in my opinion, the real purpose of passwords is not to keep bad people out or bad acting people out. It's to let good people in. And I want to emphasize this as an extremely important issue that affects all of us, which is that if one of us is sick or dies, it's really, really important that people be able to get into the accounts in order to take care of stuff for you. A good password management system provides a way of preventing the chaos that happens when someone gets sick or someone dies. Having appropriate access by the right people makes a huge difference. And the reason why our company, for one, has focused on KeePass is because although there are literally dozens of password management programs hanging around in the world, KeePass holds a unique place in my mind and has come to hold a unique place in my heart as well. And I just want to say a few words about it before Tom and Drew then help lead this meeting and teach us about the many ways of using this important program. The thing about KeePass that I really admire and that I think we should really take really seriously is that it is the only password program that a beginner understands. I've used many different password programs and I've never encountered one that didn't have its weird, obscure stuff. Like, where is this password? Where is the URL? What is supposed to go on here? Where is this being stored? Who is responsible if there's a breach, et cetera, et cetera. The beauty of KeePass is that in its simplest form, it's basically just a Word document. It's basically just a word processor for passwords. You put stuff in it, you get stuff out of it, you lock it. When you save it, it saves as a single file that you can then do something with. in this sense, it's quite different from many, many other programs. And in my opinion, one of the things that makes passwords safe is people understanding how they're stored, where they are, and how to use the program well. And I think KeePass excels in all of these areas. And for this reason, I really recommend that people use it. And I would add that in our world, among my customers and volunteers and in other, and in in our world, KeePass has actually become a bit of a cultural process, in that by everybody knowing that they're using KeePass, it gives people a sense of, I know where the passwords are. I know who's taking care of them. And my recommendation is that we make this part of our Bnug culture as well, that we adopt KeePass and its various clones as our semi-official password management program that we endorse, encourage, and help people learn about. I'm not saying that the other ones are bad or you shouldn't use them, but I am saying that focusing on one and learning to know it really well, and then making it part of a culture, I think makes it much more likely that password management will get adopted among our customers and our friends and our volunteers. And that goal, I think, is a really worthy goal. So having said that, I wanted to turn the floor over to Tom St. Cyr, who is a KeePass user and teacher of KeePass. And I would like him to share with us, give us a broad introduction. A lot of us have used this program, but some of us have not. I'd like to give a broad introduction to how you started to use it, what you like about it, what works about it. And then Drew is going to lead the second part of the conversation, which is the one challenge that KeePass needs to meet to compete with the other password managers is it needs to be available on multiple devices. And we'll talk about that. Tom will ring in, and I'll also weigh in on that, and other people are very welcome to weigh in on it. Tom, you're on.
And I can share my screen.
Please.
And everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
So getting ready for tonight's meeting, I have spent quite a bit of time, learning more about KeePass. And yes, I have been more of a user of KeePass probably since the first day I met Adam. And I find the program, as it kind of states here, it's very easy to set up and use. And then I make the comment about today, we have so many passwords and you need to remember a password for everything. And then I read something, the third item there, that talks about 25% say they don't use a password program at all. And another 25% use another means to use password. That was probably me.
Tom, I'm just going to interrupt for a quick moment. Just folks, if you go up to the top of Zoom where it says view options and choose the Zoom ratio and make it 150, you'll be able to read Tom's document very comfortably. You can use the little hand to move around as you go. Thanks, Tom. Continue, please.
So a password program helps people to manage passwords in a secure way. And you can store passwords in a database, which is locked with the master key. So you only have to remember one single master password to unlock the entire database. So getting back to how I used to be, I probably wrote down my usernames and passwords. Maybe I had different usernames and passwords, but I was probably the person that, had everything pretty much the same for everything. And I think that's a big population of people. So as I continue to learn and get ready for tonight, I came, KeePass, in my opinion, is a program that everybody should just use. Based on a couple of things it doesn't do for me, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I don't know what to compare it to. So maybe somebody on the call that may have an idea about a different password program, or maybe somebody can teach me. So the list of features I have here, nice KeePass features, and I don't know if I want to go through all 18 of them, but they're nice features that I have found helpful as I'm using KeePass. And now I've kind of taken a spreadsheet of the same username and password, and now I probably have, close to 200 entries between my business, username and passwords and my personal username and passwords.
Can I interrupt for just a moment, Tom?
Sure.
I just want to underline something Tom's saying, because I think this is the key issue here, which is that if you don't use a password program, you are almost bound to use the same password over and over, maybe making some small variations. And that was Tom, and that was lots of people. And I just want to emphasize why that's such a big deal. The reason why it's a big deal is that there are a lot of people globally with time on their hands who want to make a bit of money. And there are a lot of organized crime characters and other characters who are happy to pay them to try to break into your stuff. And the way they do it is they harvest passwords from one vulnerable site like Facebook or Google or some other site that doesn't have very good security, harvest vast numbers of passwords and then use them to try them against other sites. The way to stop this in its tracks is to have a good, strong password for every single program that you use online. It means if someone breaks into one, they can't use the password to break into another. And programs like KeePass, password management, allow you to create strong passwords quickly and appropriate and conveniently, while trying to do it by yourself is extremely difficult. So I just wanted to add that this is the real goal of the password manager, is to have a different password for every service that you use. And Tom uses 200 services. And Tom is not running a Fortune 500 company. But think about how many passwords a man who helps people with their phones and cameras needs to have. All the different customer passwords, all the different gadgets the customer has, plus all his personal stuff. And keeping track of those passwords without a manager, I think, is really silly. Tom, you're back.
And I do agree, as I get a little bit older, even though I think of myself as still very youthful. My two boys are 33 and 32, and there will be a day that, mom and dad aren't here. So I'm constantly working with, my wife and the boys, that in the event something should ever happen. And yes, I have 200 entries, but probably 5 or 6 of them are probably important for them in the event they need access to something. So I am a big fan of, yes, password programs keeps out the bad people, but my goal is, in the event something ever happens, the good people can seamlessly have access to information that my wife and I have that wouldn't be important for my children. Something happens to me and it makes my wife's job a lot easier in terms of having access to the 5 or 6 kind of financial and other things that would be helpful to, family members. I'm not sure, is there a best way, Adam, for me to kind of go through some of the features, or do you want me to just?
Yeah, why don't you give us a tour? And if you want to do a demo, Tom, maybe not with your own KeePass, if you want to create a new one and just walk us through. So for people who haven't seen this program yet, there are people in the group who have a.
I don't mind quickly. I'm okay. I don't mind using my own. Would you not?
I think using your own is fine, as long as you don't show any passwords.
Yeah, I'll be careful.
But I will point out the KeePass was designed to do that. So KeePass was designed to shield the passwords from someone who's just walking by. So I think it would be fine.
Let me just get. Yeah, all right. So let me talk about the features of KeePass. And again, based on my research to prepare for tonight, I was surprised how some people that were chatting about KeePass almost was indicating that if you don't have a great technology background, KeePass could be difficult to set up and use. But now, as a user of many years, I find it to be the complete opposite, that it is so easy to use. And then maybe before, and here were some other, the last thing I'm kind of showing, some other programs that seem to get mentioned. And I know this group, because it's open source, has talked about Bitwarden. And then the other ones, 1Password and Dashlane and Keepers and LastPass. I think LastPass gets a lot of conversation, but again, I would, maybe I've drank the KeePass Kool-Aid, but I would take KeePass over all of them. And I don't know enough about Bitwarden. That's probably my next exercise here, because I know I've heard others on this call talk about how Bitwarden is a nice password program. All right, let me get into my password program here.
Question.
I'm listening.
Oh, go ahead, Shreeze.
Essential PIM has a password management module. Have you looked at that?
I'm sorry, what's it called, Shreeze?
Essential PIM.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Let's add that to the list.
I don't know that. I thought and again, I don't know a lot, but what is that exactly?
Well, Essential PIM is a contemporary of Outlook, but it's a lot simpler to deal with. It's a lot more foolproof because it is simpler. It contains a number of modules covering calendar, email, tasks, to-dos, contact list, and there's a password management module that they added a couple of years ago.
And if I wanted to search that, or others wanted to search that and learn more, where would somebody go? What's it called?
You can search for on Essential PIM, P-I-M, or I think it's essentialpim.com. It's a great program. I've been using it for years.
Great to know. PIM stands for Personal Information Manager. That's a term not often used these days, but that's what it's called.
And Sharice, is that your password program?
I don't use that for passwords, but from what I've seen, it's a good program.
Oh,
I use it for calendar and tasks.
And do you use KeePass as your password program?
Nope.
And do you use a password program?
Well, I do have a password management program. I've been using it for years. So.
And which one are you using?
A Word document.
A Word doc.
At work, I use OneNote.
Sharice, if you could put the PIM info in the chat, people could look it up while the meeting is going.
Well, I don't know if I want to do this, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, Tom, we're recording, so here's what I recommend.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, why don't I share it from my machine? Hold on a sec.
And maybe we can set up a.
I'm going to set up a practice one. So
yeah, sure.
Give people a feel for how to get the program as well.
Yeah.
So let's go here. Bear with me for just a second while I get ready. I just hold on a sec while I'm getting ready. While I'm getting ready, I just have a unusual announcement. Send This File, which we've talked about in other meetings. The president of Send This File sent me a note because I had some concerns about the new version, and he invited everyone in Bnug who wants to do a free trial of the premium service for a couple of months. So if you'd like to be one of those people, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my email in the chat, and if you send me an email, I will add you. I will add you to the list, and they'll put you on the special list, and I'll send you an email about it.
What does the software do?
This is sendthisfile.com. So I'm putting my email in here, and then just feel free to send me an email and saying, I'd like to be on the Send This File thing. And then I'll send an email back to you saying, here's what you do. This has just happened today. This fellow offered this, so I wanted to share that with everyone. It was kind of him to respond to my concerns, which I really appreciate when a company does that.
And Adam, you have the premium version, correct?
I have the premium version,
Yeah.
and there's a concern because they just did an upgrade, which made some changes that I'm opposed to. And so I called their tech support, and this was the response, which I think is a good response. They're not saying trying to buy me out. They are actually looking at my concern, and hopefully will honor it. But we'll be able to talk about that sometime. So here we are at your basic computer. And let's walk through the steps from beginning to end. The best way to get KeePass for a PC is to go to ninite.com. Ninite is a wonderful free system that allows you to download or upgrade all of these well-respected free software programs, including Malwarebytes, including Chrome, Opera, a very weird presentation program called GIMP, Greenshot, which is a very nice screenshot program, recommended. All the major online storage companies have a place here. 7-Zip is available. FileZilla for people who are working on HTML websites. Winderstat, beautiful disk management program. So we're going to go to Other and find KeePass 2. That's what we want. So you choose KeePass and you choose Get Your Ninite. It downloads a little program and you run the little program. You can also install other stuff in the same round if you wish. That's one of Ninite's great features. And it's downloading the current version of KeePass and installing it. This may cause trouble for me because we network our KeePass and it may upgrade the one on this machine and cause trouble, but we'll deal with that. So it's installing KeePass.
And Adam, if somebody went directly to KeePass, that's no harm in that, correct?
Well, it's confusing. So the KeePass website is keepass.info. And you'll see under downloads, there's a long list of stuff that is just confusing about which one to do. So I just find Ninite simpler. These are all the unofficial ones that for Android and for all the other gadgets. KeePass is a very popular open source system. So there are all these different ones. There's Strongbox for the iPhone. There's Android. There are various ones for Android, KeePass Droid, and KeePass to Android. So going to this website is very worthwhile, and their help files are excellent. They have tutorials that are really well done. It's a good website, but I really recommend for beginners, particularly, use Ninite to set up. So here's KeePass, and what we're going to do is create a new database, and we're going to call this Tom's Passwords. And then it asks for what they call the master password. This is the most important password you can choose. Once you pick this is going to be your root into all your passwords. So what I recommend is you pick 3 upbeat words. They can be any words in the English language, but nothing to do with you particularly. Not about your dog, not about your friend, not about your birth date, nothing like that. Something that cheers you up and that you care about. So I recommend that you take 3 words and a number. This always stumps people. It's like, what do I say? Here's a perfectly good password.
Adam,
Yeah.
when I'm doing this with clients, I always start with things like, what's your favorite food, or bird, or a baseball team, or something that, like you said, is upbeat and fun.
Upbeat and fun is good, but too close to you is not good. So the reason why I'm fussing about this is that it's very natural to say Red Sox. It's very natural. The problem is that with the internet, it's just crazy. You can find my mailbox, my postal mailbox from college from 40 years ago on the internet. It's just nutty. The information about you on the internet is so extensive that I really recommend you try to pick something that's a little bit more random than something you actually deal with every day, or something that's going to show up in your Facebook page. My
But yes, but lasagna is not likely to be unique to me.
It might not, Martin, but if you're, what was that cat? What's that cat? Who's the cat?
Oh, Garfield?
Garfield. If you're Garfield, lasagna is your life. So just be careful not to pick something that's really gonna show up in your life, because
What
it just,
about substituting some special characters or numbers for the letters in?
you may do that,
Actual
but
words.
I don't think it provides any real security. I think what really provides security is that you know the password, you can communicate it to somebody else, and that it doesn't have anything about you in it. So this one is really hard to trace back to me. But you can be a little bit flexible. I just think that you should be careful, because if you pick words that are really ones that, then there's somebody out there who's just fooling around, who's gonna try the different combinations, look at your Facebook page and say, this guy loves chihuahuas, you know, whatever. So just be aware of that. So we're gonna choose this one. And what I recommend you do, and I'm about to do, is take this password and take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and write it down. There's no username. Be careful about capitals and not capitals. And use the 3 dots, wonderful tool that it gives you to be able to see the password. And I want to show you something amusing about this program. Watch what's going to happen. It says the specified master password is weak. Now let's think about this for a sec. This password that we created has 71, how many characters? It was 71 bits. It was 20 characters or something. It is not weak by any measure, except these guys. These guys are fanatics. They think a password that's not 60 characters is weak. I think they're silly. Okay. One other thing I recommend when you set up KeePass is, as I mentioned, the people who make this program are fanatics. Go to Tools, Options, and change the auto clear time. Sorry. Tools, Options. They changed this a little bit. Hold on. Bear with me.
So it would be in security, Adam. You're in the wrong tab, I think.
Yeah, so interesting. Every version of KeePass I've ever had always opens on this tab. Oh, I see what's happened. They because they upgraded my version, still had my change. When you do install it new, it's going to be 12 seconds for the clipboard auto clear time. Change it to 120. Nobody can do anything in 12 seconds. So add a 0 to that so that it doesn't erase your clipboard before you paste in the password. So now we have our new database, and somehow it didn't remember what I used. So let me go back. So this one didn't get put on open recent. Somehow it didn't. I don't know what happened. It sounds like I didn't save it or something. Let's see if we can find the file, but I don't think it's here.
Yeah, it should be showing your sample entry, something.
Well, it should open as Tom's. So I think I must have hit the wrong key or something. Let me just do it again. Okay, so we're going to call it Tom's Passwords. A little review. Here's the name of the database. We'll put in the password that I chose. And I'm going to use the 3 dots to help me write it. Notice that when you reveal the password, you don't have to double it. Only if you turn this off do you have to, and it will double it for you. So it's a nice convenience. You can look at the password by inspection and confirm it. Okay, I'm going to say yes, I will use this password. I think what happened is I canceled here. That was the problem. Okay, it gives you a chance to print out a sheet with your password on. I've already done that, so I'm going to skip it. And here I am in KeePass.
And Adam, you think printing that emergency sheet is a good idea, or at least having it written down?
I think for some users, it's really helpful because they put it in their safe deposit box. You know, for me, I write it down, but I think they're both perfectly good ways of doing it. The important thing is before you put a lot of work into this database, lock it and test it. We're about to do that. So I'm going to lock this database. Now let's open it again. So I put in my password. If you want to put a password also, it's not too terribly long. These people who want the 60-character password, that means you have to type it every time you open it. Probably going to discourage you from opening it. Here I am again. When I save the password, when I save this, it saves a file. This is actually a pretty wonderful thing. So, and if we go here, there's Tom's passwords. Notice it's a teeny weeny KDBX file, but this is a beautiful file. It's like a doc. It's like a Word doc. You can take this file and email it to someone completely safely, and then call them with the password and they'll have access to your stuff. You can put it on a flash drive. You can put it on multiple drives in your network. You can put it on Google Drive. This file has all your passwords and all your other information in it in a locked place. This is a lovely, lovely thing. Okay, so when you use this program, it creates what's called an entry. Tom, do you want to describe these items here?
Yeah, so I have, it could be title would be, bank ABC, and then, your username to allow you to log into your bank account. And then create a password.
Now, say a few words about creating a password. So when you open a brand new entry, KeePass will automatically have, I'm going to just delete the password here. KeePass, when you open a brand new entry, this is an existing entry, but when you open a brand new entry, KeePass will put in a random password that it chooses.
Yeah, it automatically generates, which I do use that on a number of my accounts. Some of the other accounts, I may pick my own password.
And when you use this password, they may complain to you. The company you're pasting the password into may complain and say, you don't have any special characters, or you don't have any uppercase characters. You can go to the password generator and choose what combinations you have. Make sure you have lowercase, make sure you have uppercase, add the special character, change the number. If they say you can't do 20, you have to do 15. So now I've just made a recipe for a password: 15, uppercase, lowercase, and special. And if we take a look at this, notice it's 15 characters, it's uppercase, lowercase, and special. But this password is impregnable. It's not made up by you. It's not a variant on some password you've already created. It's using really weird passwords. It's very, very difficult to crack. You can, if you wish, make up your own password and put it in here too. And I do recommend that for passwords where you'd be stranded on a highway somewhere because you don't have your AAA password, or you can't get into your Airbnb. You probably want to make up the password for that as something you can write down and remember. These are almost impossible to write down successfully.
One added note just here while you're talking about the master passwords.
Yep.
One thing that I do personally is, and this is good for anybody that has a master password, any password manager, even if you use LastPass, get a free copy of KeePass and have a separate database that doesn't exist on your same cloud storage or drives where your main KeePass file is. Let's say you use LastPass, create a new database and have one entry in it. And that one entry doesn't say this is what it's for. It just has in it your master password. And then you put that someplace safe, and with a KeePass password that you'll never forget ever and won't ever change. And just keep that someplace separate so that whatever password manager you use, your password is backed up someplace safe that you won't forget your master password, or you'll have a recovery option for it.
I really like that suggestion. And I would add, you might also want to include the 5 passwords that really make a difference. I'm just gonna make sure that's not one of our people. Tom, why is there a URL here?
So I'll just use my bank as, so it would be, www.bankofamerica.com. And, entering the information, when you enter that information, one of the nice things about KeePass is the ability to, auto enter that information similar to, and then it will bring you to,
So do you see what I'm doing here? I'm right clicking on the bank, going to URL and choosing open.
and then it's amazing to see how it goes right to, and then it brings you to the
Right here.
login.
And now I'm ready to log in. So I go here, click here, and then go back to Bank of America and right click and choose perform auto type.
And it's pretty amazing how it does this.
So of course, this is not getting me into Tom's account, darn, but you can see that once you get the hang of it, and I want to emphasize that there's definitely a learning curve here. I'm not at all implying, oh, you'll just use it and you won't have any problems. That's what all these other companies are implying. I'm not. This is hard work to learn to use this program, but it's really money well spent. It's really energy well spent. Learning the hard work of learning this technique means that for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times you use a password, you'll get really good at it using this method once you get the hang of it. And you won't even think about it. It just makes life so much easier. So that's why there's a URL in here. I will say one thing for new KeePass users. Every other program in the known universe uses the file menu to do new entries, not KeePass. File is for new databases. To do a new entry, right click here and choose add entry. That's the right way to
Adam.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to add, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of different categories. You can actually create your own category based on maybe your banking information, or like your if you belong to a sports club, or some kind of even our user group. Like you want to get into our IO group, or a special like message base. You can create a special group for that with all your information in that. Like if you have even if you like a website, if you're like a website, you make your own websites for people. You can create groups with all those passwords for those particular websites.
Like so. So here's a folder, and you can create new entries for the folder. I, for one, don't use this feature very much for a couple of reasons. The main reason is that, in my experience, the search is so great in this program that if you just throw all your passwords in here and then use the search to find the password you need, I find that works better than doing the categories. Very much a matter of taste, though. And there are advantages to having groups. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Steve.
So I use the group to create what I call the most important entries. And again, I'm trying to make it simple for those that are important to me in the event they need access to my program so they can have access to stuff. I try to make it easy by just creating, like the, my 5-star group, which is the one that is probably the only one that they need to be worried about.
Yeah, so this group lets you can pick the what the group. It looks like you can pick tags and do some other cute stuff with it. I don't know if you're allowed to change the icon. I think that would be really neat.
Actually, I think there is, Adam. I think there is.
You can actually change the icon.
Yeah, I think they give you a list of.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So the most important, what would be a good icon for a very, very important thing? Let's see.
Ooh.
All kinds of different choices here. How about a hammer?
You can scroll to see more.
And there's even more.
Yep.
Okay, so could be this one. And you can move these up. Move these up and down. I have found that I found the folders a little kludgy. It may have gotten better with the newer version though. So,
Excuse me, Adam.
yeah, go ahead.
So I had just a couple quick comments on what's been said so far.
Please.
Oh, and pardon me while I plug in my headset. Let me know if you can still hear me. It's a new headset, so I haven't fully tested it.
We can hear you, Martin, but you're speaking Swedish. Martin, are you there?
No, we can't hear you, Martin.
Okay, so yeah, something.
There you are. You're off again.
All right, I'll come back to that.
There you are.
So there's three things I wanted to comment. KeePass is nominally for passwords, but you can also put in things that are not passwords, like credit card information, social security information, just straight up notes that you want to keep secure and protected. Somewhere in there, I forget exactly where it is. I use extensive annotations for my passwords. Why do I have this account? When did I open it? For email accounts, I'll note the SMTP and POP related settings, or the security questions. Favorite rock band or whatever. Also, in terms of looking for things, the description nominally, there you go, it's called value. The description, the so-called name, determines where it is in the alphabetical list. And sometimes that's problematic for people. Does this go under Amazon or under Prime? Under Verizon or under cell phone? So I'm not shy about suggesting that clients, pick one name that the actual info goes in, and then make additional entries, like maybe under singular, you put, C AT&T, and you don't repeat the information, because now if the password changes, you won't remember to update both of them. So kind of taking a card, so to speak, pun intended, from the old card catalog world, Hemingway, or Old Man on the Sea, C Hemingway. You can make extra entries that are cross references that'll help you navigate back to that which name you chose back when you set things up.
Here's the search at work, and it picked up both Bank ABC and My Bank, because it has the word bank in it. If I go into this one, it says, go to C Bank of America. And here's this one. Yeah, notice this one picked up, if I say America, I don't know if it'll pick it up. Let's see. It did, for two reasons. This one has America in here, but this has America in the URL.
Also, on the bottom of the,
Let me just finish.
Okay.
It's a very comprehensive search. So it picks up, I think it actually also even picks up passwords. So if we look at this one, I'm not sure about this, but we'll test it. We do this one and say the password was lemon. I believe the search will pick up the password. No, it doesn't.
You can make it do that though.
There's an option in options.
You can, there's an option under for find. You see that? Did you see that magnifying glass?
Oh, here.
No, the magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And
Oh, look at this. So now if I do lemon, it works.
and it has a history thing in there too, in case you had old stuff in it.
So you can search the history features, one of my favorite little known features. If you go here and go to history, go to edit entry and click the history tab, it remembers every change that's been made and keeps all the old passwords for you. This is extremely useful when you've changed a password and it said, when you want to change the password and ask for the old one, and you've already changed it in KeePass, you have the old one. Tom, do you want to say some more?
If you want to go to the Find tab, if you want to cancel that and go to the Find, so
This one here?
no, the main tab.
Oh, this one, find.
Find, yes. And duplicate passwords, similar password
Ooh.
quality.
Uh-huh.
I found this to kind of be,
Look at this.
yeah, just cool stuff.
That is cool. This is a warning to people saying, this password is really not adequate.
One other comment.
Yeah, please.
Some of the other, I don't know if KeePass does this, I doubt it, but some of the other password managers, which are more somewhat online oriented, they will check your passwords against public reaches, databases of passwords that have been stolen and made public, and will warn you that this or that password has been exposed in this or that breach. So you may want to consider changing it to one that is not within those breached and strewn about databases.
This program does not do that, although this program has, as Tom mentions in his essay, a wide range of add-ons. And I'm willing to bet that there's an add-on for that. But my feeling about it is that if you're even close to having a password like that, that's going to be in a public breach, you're not using this program properly.
Well, no, but you can't know. You might have a fantastically secure, strong password that was part of some breach.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and the good news is that those things don't just take your password and look it up in clear text. They turn into a hash. They turn into a number, and they look the number up. So they do it in a secure way. But it's not about crappy passwords. It's about stolen passwords that might be very, very strong.
That's a good point. So it does appear that they have. There's one like this.
Yeah, look for the word breach.
Double clue KeePass plugin.
Okay.
Does anyone see that in here? It's import utilities.
Well, do a search.
I just put into the chat a location called monitor.firefox.com. They monitor breaches, and you can go there and punch in any any email address, and it will search its known databases and let you know if it has found that particular email address in a breach.
Okay, well, I mean, the classic place that does that, I'm putting it in the chat here, is called, it's pronounced "have I been owned," but it looks like "have I been pawned." The P is pronounced like an O for gaming reasons. That's a classic place you can also investigate breaches and see whether your beloved password that you've been using for years and on every account is part of a breach. Mine certainly was, which was good motivation to update things. So there's all kinds of databases out there about breaches. It's one of those sort of layers of awareness. Adam's technique of 3 words plus, interconnective tissue is a great way to make a strong password, but unfortunately, breaches are another source of, hey, we found passwords, let's go try them in various places. And it's kind of like, you got a pile of keys you found in the street. Maybe it opens up this house. Maybe it opens up that car. It seems a little random, but they wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't productive.
So how often should we be changing our master password? Anybody?
Well, I don't think you should.
I hardly ever change my master password.
Oh, see, that was my thought, because I would be nervous that I would change it incorrectly. Now I can't have access to my database.
What I do to protect my master password is I use what perhaps many people disregard, is the key file feature of KeePass. KeePass can generate a unique hash encrypted key file. And it's a static file, and you keep it, you don't replicate it up on the cloud anywhere. You store it locally on your device in a non-shared location, just a local directory. And when you open up KeePass and you point it to your database file, there's an option to optionally support a key file. And if that key file, if your database generated a key file, I could take my master file and email it to the entire Bnug group, and you won't have my key file. And you can spend a year and a day trying to guess my master password. You'll never get into the database.
Well, so the key file is just an embodiment of the password?
Think of a key file as a really, really high-tech password. And it's a long hash generated by the KeePass app itself. And
so does it invalidate your master password, or it's an alternate way?
It's used in addition to your master password.
Oh, you have to have both.
think of it as two-factor authentication.
Yeah, that's,
Okay,
that
you
that was
have to
my
have both.
takeaway. Yeah,
You have to have
two-factor.
both. If I gave you a copy of my master password, my master database, and set my password to the word cat, you would still never get in because you don't have my key file.
Okay, so you have to have both. Okay, got it.
It's sort of a two-factor authentication essentially.
Right.
And Adam, when you're typically teaching that, we don't usually suggest the key factor or the two-tier, do we?
No,
No.
I think that, again, this has partly to do with keeping things simple. That we don't want to make things too complicated for people. And so I think an advanced user like Drew would use that.
Well,
Yeah.
I kind of disagree. Just like that password breach that they had at LastPass, those databases were hackable because you could brute force attack just one password, whatever your chosen master password was, and it could be a weak one. And you generate a key file one time only, and it never, ever, ever, ever changes. I've had the same key file for 15 years. And you store it locally on your phone and your computer. If you change computers 5-10 years down the road, you move that key file to your new local, just a local folder.
So Drew, what you're saying though is that, let me just close this out for a second. When I open KeePass, so I'm opening it. And here I put in my.
You're not using a key file provider. It's set to none.
If I were, just walk me through this. What do I do to create one?
To create one, you first have to go into your database, open up the
Okay, I'm
database.
gonna do that. Okay, hold on.
And it doesn't matter what KeePass app you use. If you go into File and then change master key, or you'll have an option to do a key file provider. And if you check that box off, you can have it create a key file for you. And that file, you can generate it, and then that database becomes.
Oh, this is how I get to do the mouse thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I love doing this.
But I'm confused. He didn't have to choose a provider?
He's self-generating an encrypted key using this entropy collection method.
Oh, so he doesn't, he chooses, he leaves the provider at none.
Now it's going to change once he finishes this. It
Okay.
won't.
I just generated some randomness. And now here's the file.
That's the
So now I
file.
put this file on my computer.
You put it on each of your devices where you store the database, but not where you sync your database.
Okay, so now I just saved that. So now I have a key provider. I'm not going to change.
Okay. So Tom is his own provider in this case. Okay.
Yes,
Wait, but it's now making me do a new master. It's making me do this again.
It's a self-signing certificate, essentially.
Okay, wait a minute, hang on. Adam, you just chose the key file only without a master password.
Really? Let's take a look. So I want to go to change master key. All right, let me just put the master password back in. Here's the expert options. Now I'm really confused about what I've done. But bear with me. Let me put in the correct master password. And we'll do the KeePass,
No, well, I'm sorry, Adam, I don't think you're signing in. I think you're changing.
I'm putting it back.
Okay.
But I'm changing because I want to do the key file and the correct password.
Yes.
Because otherwise it zapped my password. So now I'm going to create the new file key. Oh, I love doing this.
So basically, my Google account has my password file. If my Google account were breached, that password file would essentially be inoperable to anybody that gets a hold of it.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So okay, so now I have my key file that it's going to recreate.
And then you do this one time and you never, ever, ever, ever change it. You
Okay,
could-
but here's what I'm just want to understand. So now I've now changed the master key and I'm saving it, skipping all this. Okay, now I'm gonna lock up. I'm gonna lock up. Now I go back in. Notice it has the key provider with the path. Key provider with the path. So
Mhm.
um,
So for example, let's say in Bnug, we used
let me in.
a shared password database file for Bnug resources. We could literally email that database file amongst each other, so long as we use an alternate method to share a static key file that we all keep to ourselves.
Here's what worries me a little about this. Suppose this happens. Suppose this file gets deleted.
You have a backup copy of it somewhere.
Or maybe I don't. So I just locked. And now I try to open my KeePass.
And you can't.
Let's see what it does.
It's the same thing as, say you went to your bank and you signed up for two-factor authentication. And then
Drew, there's no question in my mind that this makes things safer in one sense. But it's also, there's no question in my mind that this makes things complicated and difficult for, especially for a new user who is more at risk for not being able to get, like, what your focus is on keeping the bad people out, the bad acting people out. And I sympathize, I understand that. So now I'm getting back to, it's letting me in again. I just think that this is, everybody needs to use their good judgment about this. I really appreciate you teaching us this, and it's very interesting. I didn't know how this worked. I'm just gonna go now though and turn it off. So,
Excuse, question.
yeah,
If you're doing both, the master password and the key file, as long as you have both, you get in. If you keep the key file, you can still change the master password if you feel like it, right?
absolutely.
I'm just doing it right now. And in fact, I'm turning off the key provider.
Yeah, I don't go nutso trying to create a high-tech master password that I may forget, because I know that I don't keep the two of them unless you get my actual laptop and take possession of it. You're never going to have both.
No, I get that. I just want to be clear. You can still change your master password when using key files if you want to.
I just did.
Yes.
Oh,
As long as you're able to get in, I just changed it. I turned off the key. Notice the key file's gone now.
Yeah.
I just went in and changed the master password. I didn't even have, I happen to use the same one, but I basically turned off the key file feature.
okay. Also, I just want to be clear. You don't, when you initially make the key file, it gives it a default, a name based on the database, but you can change the name of the key file but it still functions as long as you point at it.
The content of the file is what's important.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you could even remove the extension to further hide what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And Drew, may I ask you something?
Sure.
So if you set this up and now I do this, but I need to give it to somebody, do they need to do anything different? Except
Yes,
for remember
yes.
the master password?
They need another document in order for it to work, and it has to be set up just right.
Oh, see, that to me.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's like I would need to determine who is my audience of good people that I want to give this
I
to.
think this is.
And I would find my audience not fully understanding this as easy as remembering a master password.
I think that Tom, using that phrase is a good phrase for us just to bear in mind. Remember the audience. Drew is a different audience than, say, I am. Like, there are different people who are going to use the system. Make sure that when you're using this, that you set it up in a way that people can understand. So what I'd like to do is have everyone take a break for a few minutes, and then we'll wrap up. We'll do another 20 minutes of the meeting. So if everyone wants to stretch your legs, hang out for a couple of minutes, please feel free. Okay, let's continue, folks.
Just a reminder, we're recording this meeting.
Thank you. Drew, if you now talk about using KeePass on multiple devices.
All right. Well, what I'm going to do is I will share the screen. And I don't need to share sound. I'm not doing any sound things. All right. So I use, let me get to the browser tab that I want to start with. What I want to start with is how I synchronize my files around all of my, for many, many years, I started off just using a flash drive, then went to Google Drive. And now I still use Google Drive as a functioning way of keeping my password file synced between my phone and Windows. Linux doesn't have a good way of synchronizing files with Google Drive. And that's always been a problem for me. I've been using Unix and Linux for years and never had a good sync app to get the password file onto the Linux machine. I learned about this product called SyncThing about a month ago, and I've been finding new uses for it each week as I go along. It is essentially, it's an open source free software program. It is, as they refer to it, a continuous file synchronization program that can sync files between 2 or more computers in real time without the use of the cloud. So this is something that you can do in your home between 2 computers. You can use it to back up your computer you could set up an old computer with an external drive and throw SyncThing on it and on your computer and use it to back up all your personal files. As soon as you hit file save in Word, it replicates that file to your backup server, your chosen destination. I have it set up. It is, as they say, it's completely private. No data is ever sent anywhere other than to your own machines. All communication and files are transferred between machines using TLS encryption. And only authenticated devices with a cryptographic certificate can even transfer data between machines. And there is no installation program. It is a downloadable zip file, and you run it on either Windows, Mac, or Linux. It doesn't run on, the only thing, and it runs on Android. There is a SyncThing app in the Google Play App Store that I'll show you briefly. And you basically go to get started. We could perhaps do a whole meeting on SyncThing, so I'm just going to do a very cursory overview. In their downloads section, they have a compressed zip file, and you just basically choose whether you're Linux, Windows, or Mac, and download that zip file to your computer and unzip it and run it. When you run it, it will automatically launch your browser and generate and come up with a terminal window that looks like this. And this it operates on port 120 on localhost, which is 127.0.0.1 on port 8384. That's its chosen port to listen on for management. And it revolves around 3 areas: your folders, the device that you're on, and your remote devices. This device happens to be called Surface 7. It's a Microsoft Surface Model 7. And I wonder if there's a way to get these pictures out of here. There we go. I can go into the Action Center, and I'll go into settings real briefly. When you first do the install, you give your device a name, and you go into the GUI, and I have set up an authentication user and a GUI authentication password, so that when I launch the GUI, I have to enter a password to get into it. And then you can, the sync protocol listen address is set to default. By default, this application doesn't use hard-coded IP addresses. It uses what they refer to as discovery servers, and it traverses NAT, it traverses universal plug and play. I can have my cell phone completely disconnected from my local network, and I can still synchronize files between my computer and my phone. They don't have to be on the same local area network, although for the expedience of data transfer, being on the same local Wi-Fi network is handy. You can basically, when you set up a new install, it creates for you a default folder. So that on computer A and computer B, on this computer, I don't know how well you can read it, but it says C:users dking sync. Every device will have by default sync, and you can add as many as you want to do other things. For tonight's demo, I created a folder called Bnug KeePass demo, and I have a Linux machine that, and I'll go into how I do this, how I talk to a remote machine during another meeting. I'm using a remote SSH connection to my Linux machine to do this. I have the password KeePass demo folder set up on my Linux machine, and I have it set up on Windows. And that's it. Just for this purpose, for this demo, I just did a folder share between two computers. And it's shared between this computer and my Microsoft Surface. And these are other unshared devices that I have on my network. In the action settings, I have, oops, wait a minute. What I'll do is when you first set up your first machine, you will add a remote device. And if they're both on the same local network, they will self-discover one another. There will be a message will appear here and say, we've just discovered another instance of SyncThing on your local network. Would you like to talk to it? And if you choose to add a device, you can share that device ID with others. If I were to, I'm not going to do this on the Zoom meeting. If I were to click here, it would show the full identification string along with a QR code. And I could either ship you the QR code or the identification string, and you enter that into your instance of SyncThing, and our two devices will magically connect to each other using whatever IP address they have wherever they are. And what I'm going to do is I use KeePass XC to synchronize, to use as my main program. I'm going to go into, I created for the meeting a test account called John. And if I go in and edit an entry in here and just make a change to the time and whatever it is for the Bnug meeting, and I hit save, and I hit save up here, that entry is now being transmitted, is being monitored by the SyncThing service running on the Linux machine. And it's automatically push that file change to my Windows machine. So now I'm going to go, I'm in, I just did this change to Bnug using the John database file using KeePass XC, and you can use any KeePass app to do this. You don't have to use KeePass XC. I'm going to go over to my Linux machine, and you'll see I have, oh no, I want to be on Salmon. I'm sorry. This is Mary. This is Mary's database. So I'll unlock Mary's account, and she has Bnugs. You can actually see timed Bnug is already here in the notes folder. it already finished synchronizing and imported the data. While I was fumbling around here, it's already done. It has moved the database to the Unix machine and synchronized it into the database file without me doing anything. Any changes, if I have a shared database file with a coworker, and as you can, I'll show you how I do this synchronization feature in a moment. This is a feature of KeePass XC. Mary has her own database. John has his own database. Together, they're sharing the KeePass demo, the Bnug KeyShare demo database file, which is just a standard KeePass database file. And if I go into the root of my folder and I go into KeePass, there is a function in this app called KeyShare. And I'm allowing import of data and export of data. And personal certificate, I won't go into because it's going away, but you enable this in the app. And then you go and you create a new group. And I created a new group called Bnug Stuff. And when you edit the group, you go into KeyShare and you tell it you want to synchronize. You can choose import, export, or synchronize. In a large corporate environment, you might choose import only for your employees, so that you basically distribute this KeyShare demo file to all of your employees. They set it up to import only. And anytime they receive an updated copy of their Bnug KeyShare demo database file, it will automatically, the KeyShare feature will analyze that file, look at the date and timestamps of each individual entry in the database. It doesn't care about the timestamp on the file itself. You can change the date and timestamps on the file. It doesn't rely on Windows file locking or any other file locking or the date and time on the file. It looks inside the database and it will import and synchronize only the changes that are in this shared KeePass database file. So if we say, for example, in Bnug, Adam and I both use and Steve and whoever else has a Bnug KeePass file, we would keep the Bnug information in that file, and then Adam would synchronize it with his file. I would synchronize it with my file, and Steve would synchronize it with his file. And anytime any one of us makes a change to the database file, you just use whatever method that you're going to use to share that database file to the other members. And they replace this synchronization database file with the one that they have, their old one, and which is what SyncThing is essentially doing. It's handing the file off, and it automatically reads the file, even if I'm in the app.
What would be the net effect of this, Drew? So we've got, say, Debbie and two of her coworkers at Solutions at Work had a shared file in this way. What would it be like for them each day? Debbie would go in, add a password to her KeePass, and then Tara would go in and she would see that file. Because the files are synchronized in this way, she'd see that change.
Well, both of the employees have their own personal password database files as their main primary KeePass file. And then there is a shared server file for company resources. You could have one for sales, one for engineering, one only for the IT people. And you don't use that database as a database, you use it as a sync file. And what you synchronize to your employees is that sales file. So your two, Mary and in this case, Mary and John, Mary does with her file whatever she wants to do with it. John does whatever he wants to do with his. Their company implements some sort of a method to synchronize, whether it be Google or a Windows file server or whatever method they choose, to share and synchronize the changes to this company file. And if John changes the password to an asset that is in this shared demo folder, if I say okay, if I go into my website folder and I make a change in my database and I save it, it doesn't go anywhere other than to my own file. If I go to this Bnug stuff folder and I make a change, it writes that change out to this external file. Then I rely on my company's server to synchronize that file to the other employee, to go to Mary, to John, to Jane. And as soon as their computer receives that new file, they don't care. They don't open it. They don't look at it. They don't do anything with it. They open their own personal database file. And their own personal database file will have been configured to synchronize and import any changes made to this file. And so it's
just to take a step back, the file, there's a central file that's kept someplace. So let's suppose that Tara and Debbie were sharing one database file. They could set up SyncThing on both machines. You'd pick a file that would be on one person's machine.
No, what you do is each employee, you don't use.
Let's just do two. We have two employees and we have one database, one KeePass file they want to share. How would we do that?
That's not how this works. That's not how this works. This works when Mary has her file, Jane has her file, and they keep their personal information in their personal file. This feature imports and synchronizes an external file with your personal file, so that there is employee A has a file and employee B has their own file. They get backed up however they want to back them up. And then there is separately a synchronized shared file that they use between them.
That's the one I'm trying to understand.
You don't directly open that file. You don't go into database, open database, and ever look at that file. You're not using it you're not going in and opening that file ever. You're configuring KeePass to understand that if that file changes, import those changes. And it knows that this entry changed on 2/7/23 at 8:49 p.m.
Is the shared file a subset of the entries in your personal file?
It's got none of my personal information.
No.
I think we're still not getting the big picture here. Let's start from, if we start from the beginning.
Great.
Tara and Debbie have a database. Let's say Debbie creates it. It's on her machine.
Mm-hmm. How
do we go to a situation where they're sharing that file, where one person can add to one and the other can read the changes?
This method depends on each person having their own personal database file that synchronizes with the shared sync file. So you're going to always have the number of employees, 2 employees plus 1. You're going to have a total of 3 database files. You're going to have one that I'm going to have in my file all of my personal data and all of Bnug's data. You're going to have your personal files and the Bnug data. And the way that you're going to exchange information with me is through that third-party file.
And what I'm just still having a little trouble understanding. If we created this just in the largest sense,
it's the company file. You never go into your database and open the shared file. So Tara is not creating a file that Mary is going to open and say file open and look at the contents of it. What I'm going to do, I'll go in and set this up from scratch. I'll create a new group. I'll say new group and give it whatever name I want. Doesn't matter. What matters is when I go into here and I say that I want to turn on synchronization and give it a file name, and I'll go browse and I'll go to my Bnug demo folder and I'll say that sales is we're going to be sharing sales data, and I'll give it a password. This is the master password for that file.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't need to type in that master password other than when I set this up for the very first time. I'm going to hit OK. It gave me an error saying that it couldn't import anything because the file doesn't exist. Because it doesn't exist. I'm going to go in and create a new entry and hit save and hit save. Now, if I go out to my shared folder, I now have a file called sales.kdbx.
Okay.
And SyncThing or Windows File Server or whatever your company uses synchronizes this sales KDBX file to you.
But that's what I'm trying to understand. Can we use SyncThing to do that?
Yeah, that's what I do use, yes.
Well, let's focus on that. So you're saying that this file will get synchronized to both Tara and Debbie.
Yes.
They'll both have this file on their computer.
Yes.
If you access this file using KeePass, it will have, and I put something new in it. If Debbie puts something new in it, then when Tara opens it, she'll get that new thing, right?
Absolutely.
So just to take a step back, what this program lets you do is create a file, put it on Debbie's computer, set up SyncThing on Debbie's, set up SyncThing on Tara, then set up the synchronization. And once you've done that, they can both go into that file and do stuff on it, and it will be synced between the two machines, even if the machines are not on the same network.
Well, you don't directly edit that file. That's where we're getting stuck.
Yeah, I am getting stuck.
Neither person directly edits that file. It is strictly for the purpose of synchronization and importing and exporting data.
But what is it like for them on their own machines? Like the reason what they want to use it for is they want to be able to one person wants to be able to go in and look at the passwords and add a new one, and the other person wants to get the new one.
Right. So now I'm viewing right now John's window. So now that I created that sales item, I'll go into John's database and say that I want to create a new group, and I'll call it sales, and I'll go down to key share,
okay,
turn on synchronization, and then I go get the file, and here it is. It's I'm on Windows now. I created that file on my Linux machine.
Okay.
SyncThing sent it to my Windows machine.
Got it.
And now I'm going to use KeePass to open that file.
Okay.
And I'm going to put in the password, the master password. And I hit OK. And now automatically inside John's database is that entry test that I created on 2/7 at 8:01, 9:01 p.m. And it says that it is synchronized with users King Bnug demo sales. Okay. The master database file that's open on John's computer is called John, or whatever he wants to call it.
But where in John's database does the sales entry appear?
I just created it. I just went in and said new.
No, but where does it show up in John's database?
Right here.
I have this synchronized subset that's showing up in both databases. Where does it show up in the database?
In the new, see the green dot?
Yeah.
Where it says sales? That's where it is. And if I go to the...
Wait, Drew, I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. I'm in Mary's database.
Mm-hmm.
Where in Mary's database does the sales information show up?
It's imported into her database.
How is it imported? Where does it go?
Let's say, for example, I created a new group and I wanted to call it Bnug for the group.
I don't think we're seeing what you're seeing.
You're not seeing the fact.
We're just seeing a green dot on a black background at the moment.
Oh, you're not seeing my actual what I'm doing on my screen?
We did up to now, then something happened.
No, I think we didn't.
I saw something.
I'm talking about stuff that you're not even seeing.
Well, I thought I was seeing what you were doing, but maybe it wasn't.
Well, it actually, like, what I was going on right now, we have just a green dot with a time on it, but everything before that I saw perfectly.
So you don't see the actual KeePass date?
We did before. We did until just a moment ago.
We saw Mary's, but not John's.
All right. So basically, the John's KeePass file is being hidden. KeePass is hiding what you're seeing. The software is hiding from you, apparently, what I'm seeing.
That's okay.
So we'll stick to the Linux.
You know what would really help, Drew? Could you just open up a word processing document and draw us a picture or paint or something? Just draw us a picture. I think what I'm not getting is the relationship between this shared database and the individuals, the personal databases. And if you could maybe just draw us a picture.
So can you see what I'm?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, but Drew, could you take my suggestion and just draw us a picture first before you go back to KeePass? I'm just not understanding. You've got 3 different databases here. You've got Debbie's, or in your case, John and Mary. You've got John, Mary, and sales.
Yes.
Could you show us what the connection is? You've got sales, and sales is getting imported into Mary's, and sales is getting imported into John's?
Yes.
Now, when you say imported, do you mean it create? So what I don't understand is if Mary is working, she doesn't have direct access to sales. How does she put something in the sales database?
She has, well, first of all, in order to do this, in order for this to work, this is a feature of KeePass XC. So this is not something that you can do if you're using the original Windows app. It doesn't have this feature.
Oh, the feature of synchronizing the third database. Then I guess I would ask another question, Drew. What you're saying is that SyncThing allows you to synchronize 2 files that are on 2 different machines, right?
Yes.
Is there any reason, I understand the way, a little bit I understand what you're doing here, but it isn't as relevant because most people don't have XC. Most of us aren't using XC, although I think it is available for Windows. But let's assume, suppose that I have a database, Tara has a database and Debbie has a database.
Oh.
And we have one database, actually. It's called Solutions at Work. And they each have a copy of it. It's an exact copy that they start with, right? If Debbie makes a change to the first one and SyncThing is operating, will that change then be propagated to Tara's?
If it's in a folder monitored by SyncThing, absolutely.
Great. So just to keep this kind of at the level that we're actually probably going to do it. We're not, I mean, the corporate thing that you're talking about is having a sales database, which is separate from these other 2. Leaving that aside for a moment, if we just synchronize those 2 folders so that their 2 databases are synchronized, when Tara goes into KeePass and adds a new password and then saves it, and SyncThing will synchronize that to the other machine. Yes. Without depending on any intermediate Google Drive or anything like that. And the other machine will then have exactly the same database as Tara has.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Yes.
So that, I think, is a place where, just in the interest of simplicity and because we're reaching the end of our time, I think it's probably a good place to pause. That basically what SyncThing is letting us do is what a lot of us have been really wanting to do, which is to have our KeePass database in several different places. So if SyncThing works on Windows and it works on the Mac and it works on Android and works on iPhone?
It does not. The only platform it doesn't sync to is the iPhone.
Okay. So if you have everything except the iPhone, which is a real problem, but leaving the other, and probably Mac tablets as well, right? The iOS.
It works on Mac OS. It just does not work on iOS.
On iOS, got it, okay. So Mac tablets and Mac phones, it won't work on, but it does work on these other things. If we have a Windows-based environment and a Mac with Macintosh machines, not phones, we could have 5 different copies of the same database with 5 different employees, run SyncThing on each machine, and these all would get synchronized without having to depend on Google, without having to depend on Apple iCloud.
Correct.
That's pretty wonderful. But what do you do if you have an iPhone?
You have to fudge it somehow. You have to use iCloud or Google Cloud or something for those iPhone people. SyncThing monitors changes in a folder, and the iOS operating system just doesn't, it's not formatted the same way as Unix and Linux and Mac and Windows are.
So interesting.
And it was tried. They've been trying to port SyncThing to the iPhone for years.
Yeah.
SyncThing's been around for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now.
Mhm.
And it's been tried to get it onto the iPhone, and it just does not work. They're not compatible with the way they work.
Yeah, but it seems very valuable for other uses. And if the other thing is SyncThing, does SyncThing work with Google? Like, can you SyncThing from SyncThing to Google Drive, for example?
Well, here's what I do on my Windows computer. I use Google Drive. I started using Google Drive before I had SyncThing. So on each of my—
so you have the downloaded Google Drive that makes it seem like a Windows folder, right?
Yes, I do.
Beautiful. So if we put the file, I'm just thinking about Tom who has an iPhone. If we put that file in Google Drive as a folder and then ran SyncThing, if SyncThing would synchronize it with Google Drive, and then Tom could use Google Drive and his iPhone to use Strongbox.
Yes.
Okay.
On my computer, my local
Thanks,
folder,
Jeff.
on my computer, my KeePass folder, like this one is here, is actually in a folder that synchronizes back and forth to Google.
Got it. Got it. Just wanted to interrupt. Steve, you had a question? Steve?
Yeah. So I'm hearing a lot about KeePass, and I understand that this is what tonight's program is about. But am I hearing this right? That you can, if I have a bunch of programs on my particular PC, my Windows PC, I can take everything I have on my Windows PC and sync it to another computer and have all those files on the first Windows PC transferred over to the second PC, Windows PC.
Yeah, it basically will synchronize between your 2 PCs, no matter where the PCs are. I just want to just give a warning, especially to people who've gotten computers from our clinic. We routinely put crypto prevent on our computers. Be sure if you're using SyncThing to tell crypto prevent about SyncThing and give permission, because crypto prevent will block it. But yes, this program looks like a really worthwhile program to learn about, to learn how it does synchronization. It is amazing to be able to do synchronization between the backup possibilities here are wonderful. Drew, are people using this for backup?
Yes, they do. One thing that there are a number of ways you can use it. Let's say you have an old computer that you don't use anymore. You can throw a free copy of Linux on there and throw SyncThing on there and throw a $20 flash drive on there. And then set up SyncThing on your Windows PC or your Mac or your Linux and synchronize files in one direction only to your backup server. So that when I have this Bnug KeePass demo, if I go in and say edit, I'm sharing it with my Surface 7. I could share it with any of these others. You could share it with any number of devices. And it supports another nice feature that's here is called file versioning. It defaults to no file versioning. I set it up to basically do trash can. You can do what they call simple. So let's say you are backing up people's Word document files. You could say that I want my default file versioning to be to keep 5 copies, clean them out after 30 days, and if I can hit file save all day long, and I'll always be able to go back in and restore the 5 most recent copies of that file that I edited.
This is lovely. Where's
Hey, Adam, you know, this might be useful for the computer clinic.
I think could be useful for a lot of people. Where are these people out of, Drew? The people who make it, do you know?
I don't know where it originated. If you go to thinkthing.org, there is a it tells you about the ThinkThing Foundation, and it tells you about there is a company called Castello Reef and Solutions that does professional paid ThinkThing support.
Yeah.
For companies that are, for big companies that want to pay for somebody to do their ThinkThing for them.
Well, Drew, you just scrolled past it, said a Swedish nonprofit foundation.
Yeah.
So like many free software things, I imagine the people writing the software may be all over the world.
Right.
The
So
foundation gives you
so
grants.
the Swedish and then there are in here, if I go to, let me get this thing out of the way and go to where units of, here we go. ThinkThing data usage. You can optionally offer them to, when you do your first install, it will ask you, just like a lot of other things do, if you would like to share non-proprietary statistical information with them. And so for everybody that does, they track the number of data transfers per day, the number of files that have been renamed, the number of transfers that have moved, and the amount of transfers that have been transferred so far to date is 58.4 PIB, and PIB stands for petabytes, and 58.4 petabytes equates to this amount of gigabytes.
Wow, that's a lot of gigabytes.
And you can set up your own relay server. They have a global pool of relays, so that these are relay servers that people have put up on the internet that assist with global distribution of data over open networks. And then you can look at the statistics and see what these servers are, where they are, how much data they've transported. I work primarily on my own internal house network. I don't do a lot of internet transfers to California, for example, although you could. You could set up an office in California and an office in New York and set up ThinkThing and tell them to talk to each other. And they will somehow use this series of relays to figure out how to talk to one another.
It reminds me of the Tor system.
And they also rely on what they call a discovery server. And if you are in a big organization with multiple subnets, ThinkThing by default will search your local subnet for other ThinkThing devices. If you're not on the local subnet, and you are a big company, it will use any one of their public ThinkThing discovery servers, or you can set up your own in-house. It's up to you whether you want to use a public server, or you can, if you want to, hard code the IP addresses and only sync with known IP addresses.
Mhm.
When you go into the ThinkThing server, you decide whether you want it to sync with, if I add remote device, it wants me to punch in the device ID. And I can share with Adam a device ID. I can email it to him, for example, and then he could use his local sync thing install and say, add device, put in my device ID, and it will use the global discovery servers to figure out how to connect our two folders that want to share each other.
Mhm.
And this particular machine is a demo machine. So I can go into, it doesn't matter if anything gets recorded because it's just going to go away after the meeting. Each machine will have a unique device ID code, and it's a scannable QR code, or you can email it to somebody, you can text it to somebody. And I also have this running. Can you all see my cell phone now?
Yep.
You can download from the Google Play App Store SyncThing. And what I do is I go now in the current release of SyncThing for Android. Unfortunately, auto discovery is broken. So what you need to do is click on the little plus sign and either manually type in the ID or click here and you can use your phone's camera to scan that QR code. And when it reads the QR code, it will know how to talk to that device. And this is where the dynamic piece comes in. And if I wanted to, I could erase the word dynamic and physically put in a series of physical IP addresses. So you can do it dynamically, or you can hard code the addresses. It's intended to be dynamic. I will cancel. And these are the folders that I have. When you install SyncThing on your phone for the first time, it automatically creates a camera folder backup. And it will, if you enable it, automatically back up all of your photos on your phone to whatever device you want to. Let's say you are an avid photographer and you have an Android phone and you don't have or want to pay for gigabytes and gigabytes of Google storage space to back up your photos. Let's say you'd rather back them up to your computer. When you install SyncThing on your phone, it automatically sets up a camera share. And if I were to flip this switch on my desktop or my Surface, it would push to that device all of the photos on my phone.
Drew, we should wrap up, but this is so interesting and a way of thinking about sharing, not just KeePass, but sharing in this really interesting synchronization way. So I really appreciate your sharing this with us. I feel synchronized.
So you can have these remote devices can be local on your IP subnet, or they can be somewhere else. It's up to you.
That's what makes it really remarkable, is how versatile it is. And as I say, it does remind me of Tor, in that it's a private, it's a nonprofit setting up a network so that people can share safely. We should wrap up. I just want to thank Drew and Tom for making this presentation possible. And I want to say that next month we've yes, Debbie, we're going to put this up on YouTube and then it'll be available. We also really welcome you to the Debbie and other people from Solutions Work and other people who want to come to the clinic to learn more about KeePass. It's a really important theme. Next month, we're hoping to welcome Mark Hanley, who is an amateur astronomer who uses the new tools for amateurs to do amazing things with telescopes. And the new tools are computerized. So he wants to share that with us.
And just so that
I'm almost done, Steve.
Okay.
So I just want to encourage people to come join us in planning this group. If people know people who might want to speak, or if people want to speak themselves, you have a subject that you want to explore. John Ruskin said the best way to learn about something is to write a book about it. So giving a presentation is a great opportunity to learn. Steve, you have a comment?
Just to let you know that if anyone would like to go to the computer clinic, we're open on Thursdays, usually from 1 o'clock, usually till 5 o'clock in the afternoon at Old Cambridge Baptist Church.
Yeah, please reach out to me and I'll introduce you to Mike, who leads that team.
Or myself.
Steve?
Yeah.
No, please reach out to me and then I'll introduce you to Mike, because Mike's coordinating. We can't have too many people at the church. We're still in a pandemic. So if you do reach out, Steve, if people do reach out to you, please reach out to me and then I'll connect the person with Mike so that Mike's coordinating. Thank you.
Also, did you have, I know you have a new website for the computer clinic.
We don't actually.
No, I thought we did.
No, it's in
Okay.
process. Yeah, it's in process.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Night.
Steve, are you going to